just a devotional thought this evening, and we're going to go to 2 Kings chapter number 6. So 2 Kings chapter 6 is where this truth that we'll see for tonight, where it's going to come from. 2 Kings chapter 6. Okay, so 2 Kings, go to the Old Testament, chapter 6, and then verse 13. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 13. And this is the story of Elisha. And Elisha and his servant are surrounded by the Assyrian army. And the servant can only see the army. And because of that, everything in his life is falling apart, right? Everything in his life is coming undone. And all he can see is the struggle, the problem, the trial that is in front of him. And what the servant can't figure out is he can't figure out why Elisha isn't as turned upside down by the problem as he is. He's really wondering, how is Elisha keeping it together? How is Elisha not losing his cool like I am losing my cool as I look out there and I see what's taking place? So look at verse 13, okay? So we're going to read 13, and then the truth is going to be seen in verse 17. So we're going to go 13 to 17. Let's read, and I want you to read it at home. I want you to see this, okay? And he said, "Go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him." And it was told, saying, "Behold, he is at Dothan." Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots, a great host, and they came by night, and they compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God had risen early, and gone forth before, an host compassed the city both with horses and chariots, and the servant said unto him, "Alas, my master, how shall we do?" So his question is, what are we going to do now? We're completely surrounded. There's nothing but a trial. There's nothing but problems. There's nothing, it's obvious, it's complete doom. That's what's obvious. And so this is Elisha. And he answered, "Fear not." Now that is a very common expression throughout all of the Bible. In fact, one commentator says you can find "fear not" repeated 360 plus times throughout the scriptures, where the Lord is telling us, fear not, fear not, fear not. One for every day of the year. Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Okay, so look, 15-1. The city is completely surrounded. And Elisha says, no. There's more with us than are with them. And the servant begins counting everyone up, right? He begins going, no, I'm killing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. They have 15 to everyone. There's not. Maybe Elisha's bad at math. That's what the servant is thinking. And yet notice this. And Elisha prayed and said, "Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see." And I want you to underline that phrase. Open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Okay, so watch. You have Elisha and the servant in the middle of the city. You have the Assyrian army around the city, and the servant is saying, "We're done. We're falling apart. This is the end. There's no end in sight. This 15-1. Elisha says, "No, there's more with us than with them." And the servant says, "No, I don't see that. I don't see how we could possibly make it out of this situation." And then Elisha prays, "Lord, show him. Open his eyes." The servant's eyes are opened. And now look, around on the mountains. So the army is around the city, but the mountains are around the army. That's the lesson. The mountains are around, and they have horses and chariots. But on the mountain, it's horses and it's chariots of fire. So they have horses and chariots, that's for sure. But around them are horses and chariots of fire. And that is that. Here's the thing. This is what I want to point out. Faith in the Lord is active, not passive. Faith in God, faith in what God is doing, is active and not passive. That what the Lord is expecting from us when he asks us to respond in faith rather than simply responding in fear is he is asking us to go look for him. That's what he's saying. Look for me at work. Look for me at work in the world. Look for me at work in this situation. Look for me at work in your marriage. Look for what I'm doing. And the reason that the servant can't see it is because the servant is choosing to walk by sight and not walk by faith. And the commandment from the New Testament to us is we don't walk by sight. No, we walk by faith. So what does it mean to walk by faith? Well, walking by faith would mean get your faith out and go see what God must be doing because God is obviously doing something. That's the lesson for us. Choosing to walk by faith is choosing to see the Lord instead of choosing to see the trial. Amen. It's choosing to see, I don't know how 15-1 odds are going to work out, but what I know is if God is for us, well then, who can be against us? It's that saying. That's what Paul is saying in Romans. That's what Elisha is saying here. No. They're more with us than with them. I mean, they may look big and intimidating and scary, and they may have chariots and horses, but our God is with us. Elisha is saying, get your faith out and use it, apply it. Choose to see God at work right where you are. And I mean that for us in the middle of this virus that we're facing. I mean that for you in the middle of whatever you may be going through with your health, your marriage, your children, whatever situation you're facing. It's never, the instruction is not, no, there are no Assyrian army. The instruction from Elisha to the servants is not, the Assyrian army, they won't hurt you. No, the instruction is choose rather to see what God must be doing in this, what God must have planned from this for you. You see, sometimes it's that you've heard hindsight is 20/20. So sometimes when you look back, and I plan to teach a lesson tomorrow about hindsight. Sometimes you can look back on your life, and when you look back, you use hindsight, it gives you a certain insight into what you're facing. But what this passage is actually teaching us is sometimes in life you need a foresight. Sometimes foresight provides an insight. Sometimes when you choose to look at the scenario and circumstance of your life and look for God at work, it's sometimes there in exercising your faith, walking by faith. Choosing to look for God in the moment, in the day, in the minutes, in the hour, in the diagnosis, in the trial. Choosing to look for God is actually the way that you'll find what God is actually doing. So let me tell you how that relates to what we're facing right now as a church. And I had Derek pull some of our numbers because we're going now on is this the fourth week? We're starting the fourth week of the shutdowns. And that's caused us to have to adjust a lot of what we do as a church. Yeah. But I want you to listen to some of this. And I want you to listen close, church family. That because of this, as a result of our being shut down and taking all of our services and all the devotional thoughts and all that we're doing online, as a result of this, we've had over 15,000 different people who have been reached as a result of the devotions, the sermons, the songs, the challenges, just through our Facebook and our YouTube platforms. That's not even including the website platform or any other, just those two platforms. Over 15,000 people have been reached. That's awesome. And of the 15,000 people who have been reached to these platforms, so that means that something popped up, a friend shared it, a church member liked our page or posted it, or shared our Easter service when we asked them to, or whatever it may be. And as a result of that, there have been 25,000 engagements that have responded back. So what that means is 15,000 people have been reached to these platforms, but of those 15,000 people, there have been 25,000 different times where someone has clicked, watched, engaged in a video in some kind of way. They've clicked on our website perhaps, they've gone and they've listened to a sermon, maybe they went and listened to a song, maybe they went and watched the silly game or the skit, maybe they 25,000 engagements. But then think of this. There have been 34,000 times that our videos have been watched. So 34,000 times our videos have been watched by someone somewhere for some amount of time. So sometimes that's like if they watch it 3 seconds, sometimes if it watches a minute, it varies. But what it means is 34,000 times the videos have been clicked on, they've been watched, they've been engaged. And then think of this too. 340 extra followers to our YouTube pages, to our Facebook pages. That 340 people who were not otherwise following us are now following our church page because of the content that we're doing. And these are the ones that I loved. Over 3,000 hours of content have been watched. Over 3,000 hours of content have been watched, which means people are watching and then they're watching again and again. And like if you just run those figures, Derek and I were tolling into something like if you just run some of these numbers, like if you just extrapolate that out, it's like 100 hours a day. It's like 100 hours a day of content is being watched that our church is putting out. And some of that, I know some of that is material being watched again and again because people enjoyed it. I think of the skit video. One of it was Marissa told us this morning. Oliver watched the skit yesterday 3 different times. Right? It's encouraging to people. They're looking for good content. They want to see it. They're tired of filling their mind with just the news or whatever it is, and they want something encouraging. They want a devotional thought, or they want something to make them laugh, or they want to watch the game, or whatever it is. But think about that. 3,000 hours have been taken. I was talking with someone last week. They said, I watch more church now than I would have watched if I was actually going to church because you guys are coming on live every night. I just want to watch and see what you guys are doing, what you're up to. What are you going to make Chad do next? People want to see this kind of stuff. Think about this. This is amazing. Our content is being watched in over 60 countries worldwide. Over 60 countries worldwide. Our content's being watched in the Philippines, in India, in Ethiopia, in Pakistan. I mean, all these kind of places where people are clicking on our content and they're watching and they're engaging. And I have no doubt that that's because of relationship that people in those countries have with people inside of our church. And I just want to commend you, church family. Thank you so much for taking the time to share videos, to post, to direct the followers that you have over to our website. Don't feel as if that's not efficient or productive. What we're telling you is it's actually working. And I sit here and I go, I don't like this just as much as or I dislike this just as much as everybody else dislikes it, and I wish we could be together. But then I go, but what must God be doing in the middle of all this?
God's doing something.
God is obviously doing something. And when you just think through like these kind of statistics, these are not statistics that we would have had in any other way on any other normal weekend. It's 1,000 times greater than what we would have probably done had we just been meeting the old way or the normal way. Yeah. And I think God is using this even in my own heart. I was sharing this with our staff earlier earlier today, I think God is using this in my own heart to say, man, we've got to facilitate more of this kind of content as we even move forward, and as we listen to our president and our vice president and political leaders kind of set a strategy for us of how we get out of this. I want you to know that as a church leadership, we're saying, how can we actually facilitate more of this? And it wouldn't necessarily be at the same level that we're facilitating it now, but it's also true that the Lord's really just convicted me. Like I need to, as a pastor, I need to take more time to engage with our church family over these kind of ways, because it's exponential in its reach. And I want you, church family, to know, first of all, we really appreciate you taking the opportunities to share your testimony and to share the videos, but we also want you to know it's obviously working, and only eternity will tell. Yeah. Only eternity will tell. We may never know this side of eternity what it looks like to have impacted the way that we did with this, but one day we will know. Yep. And I'm just looking forward to that day when we step into glory and somebody from somewhere walks up to us and goes, I listened to your Easter service and I accepted Jesus as my Savior because my coworker shared it with me, and then I moved away and I went to some, who even knows how this may look for us in the future, but I'm certainly optimistic that it will look for ways that will bring fruit that will abound to our account in that way. So thank you so much, church family, for tuning in with us tonight. I hope this was a blessing, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here. Let's not forget, sometimes foresight is insight. And tomorrow we're going to take time to learn sometimes hindsight gives us the insight that we actually need. And I hope this evening was a blessing to you. God bless you, church family. Please stay safe. If you have a need, I want to encourage you to reach out to your deacon, your connection group leader, one of us as staff members, and we'll do all that we can to help facilitate that need in any way. God bless you, church family. Please stay safe.